Yo, what's going on guys? HyperX here. Welcome back to another video for Tiny Tina's Wonderland, the D&D spin-off of Borderlands, if you will. If you guys saw the trailer before, then you will of course know what to expect, but they dropped a brand new one yesterday, showed off a couple of the new classes, and they look really cool. Honestly, this is something that I'm looking forward to playing. I had a bunch of fun playing through Borderlands 3, and basically, Borderlands 3 with classes, character creation, and melee weapons. I mean, what's not to like, right? So, in this video, I want to go through the new classes and kind of just the new information that they shared. So if you do enjoy this, a like would be super appreciated. Let me know in the comments down below of the two classes they've shown so far that we're about to speak about. Which one do you like the most? And of course, don't forget to subscribe if you guys have been enjoying the content lately. But first things first, let's talk about the two classes. So we have the Brr-Zerker and the Stabomancer. The Brr-Zerker is basically my, firstly, it's a pun, right? It's Brr because it's like cold, and it's Berserker because it's the melee one. It's basically got my name written all over it, right? It's a pun, and it's just run headlong into battle, swinging your axe. Basically, don't worry about aiming, just hit things and hope for the best. Of course, the other one is the Stabomancer, who appears to be the sort of stealthy damage version, the SOC special. Basically, he appears to have some stealthy elements to him. He's also got some blades, hence the name Stabomancer. Some of them you seem to be able to throw quite far, kind of like a sort of Fuma Shuriken sort of thing. And he also appears to have a crossbow, although there might actually be a separate weapon. But basically, you've kind of got what appears to be so far your tanky, meaty, run into danger setup, and also your rogue style setup. Obviously, these are just two classes. I imagine there'll be at least two more to sort of fill out the typical 4-man format, but right now, this is what we have. Now, they actually then put together a blog post and they spoke about some of the other stuff. So they want to speak firstly about the overworld. It seems like in this game, it's going to be sort of like a map from Borderlands 3, but given a sort of D&D tabletop twist. So you'll of course adventure between your different missions, between your different areas. Whilst you're playing, you'll have random encounters. There'll be hidden areas to explore, loot drops. A lot of it kind of seems pretty cool, honestly. To quote some of the stuff from the blog post, they said that once you've gotten used to the sight of your Fate Maker's big old noggin in the overworld, you can start poking around the many nooks and crannies on the game board. Some discoveries might be minor, a quick dungeon encounter, a smattering of gold-filled chests here or there, but you could end up stumbling into an entirely optional area that some adventurers might miss altogether, which honestly sounds really cool. They said that these aren't just flash-in-the-pan diversions, they are either optional regions, like sort of Tangle Drift and the Sungfang Oasis, or expansive environments complete with their own multi-part questlines. They said we treat these huge maps like standalone modules from a tabletop game that feel different from the main quest. They also said that you may encounter some collectibles in the overworld tucked away in hidden corners, like lucky dice that increase your luck stat, helping you get the item drop that you really want. They said there are also shrine pieces to collect that unlock passive boons when you've found all the pieces that you need. There's even poetry pages scattered across the world to sort of offer a bit more lore, and knocking over bottle caps that litter the game board will create handy shortcuts that can reduce overworld travel time if you need to backtrack. So honestly, the fact that you've kind of got this interactive element in both the overworld and then when you're actually in the game sounds really awesome. They said, of course, exploring off the beaten path to find these optional areas is not without its perils. When trekking through the stretches of tall grass or dense foliage, an enemy might pop out and charge at you, hence random encounters. That triggers a first-person shootout when they make contact. But if you're not in the mood, you can simply punch them into oblivion and continue on your merry way. They said that the player will always have agency on whether or not they want to engage with these random encounters, so they're not going to sort of force them on you like sort of old school JRPGs. But either way, it still sounds pretty cool. They said at the same time, they do want the random encounters to be meaningful. They said they want to make the player think, oh, I have an opportunity to get this type of loot here, so I might actually sort of take advantage of this, as opposed to just being a meaningless distraction to try and help you level up. However, on top of that, let's talk a bit about magic, because of course this is another big component of the game. Like Borderlands, all about guns. This one, there are guns, but it's also heavily about magic. And they said this time around they want to prioritize the fun first, then balance later. Now, I really hope they stick to this, because honestly, that is music to my ears. Some of these games, especially if they don't have like an online competitive component, I just like being stupidly powerful, right? Sometimes it just feels really good, and I know Borderlands 3 was like that at launch, then they started to kind of balance things out. So honestly, if they can just be like, let me be stupidly overpowered, it's going to be hella cool. They said that spells will be lootable, equipable, and have rarities. Alongside your ever-growing collection of trusty guns, shooting off spells is crucial to maximize your damage output in Tiny Tina's Wonderland, with most spells having short cooldowns that let you fire magic from your fingertips frequently. They said that some spells will make short work of enemies, roasting them with fire or sending them flying into a mini tornado. Others offer more utility, like giving you and your allies a bit of protection or reduced cooldowns. Just to kind of elaborate a little bit more on the balance side of things, to quote the actual blog post, they said that I think that's a hallmark of how we do things in our games, and particularly in Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. It's about having fun first before addressing balance. That doesn't mean to say balance isn't important, so they will still balance it to a degree, but they said I think players will have the most fun if we put it at the forefront. So basically just let us do some crazy stuff. However, on top of that, of course, music to my ears, there's a big focus on melee as well, dedicated melee weapons, skills and modifiers, and while it might not necessarily take over your primary gun, they are going to be a lot more meaningful this time around. I mean, maybe it'll be a bit more like playing Krieg from Borderlands. They said that melee combat completes the combat trifecta in Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, as you're able to keep a dedicated melee weapon constantly equipped in addition to your guns and your spell loadout. It's not likely to take precedent over the guns in your right hand and the powerful spells in your left, but weaving a few close-up strikes into the flow of your firefights can go a long way. And of course, we see the Brr-Zerker doing like a lot of sort of spinning melee attacks, and I feel like maybe that class could potentially, I'm just speculating right now, but given the sort of setup for it, perhaps there could be some that are better with melee weapons. I mean, basically, look, I just want to run around and wail at things and ignore my guns. I really hope I can do that. They said it is very important for us that the pace of our style of shooter remains, and our style of shooter is very offense focused, it's very forward focused. It was important that our melee combat didn't use a lot of defensive parrying mechanics. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's not the style of play that fits the pace of combat that we want. So in other words, it's not about perfectly timing things, you just want to run in and wail. Again, I mean, look, are you making this game for me? Because that is basically my playstyle. They said that instead of treating melee weapons, whether swords, axes, giant mallets or more, as primary methods of attacking, smacking nearby enemies will instead stagger them to give you a bit more breathing room. So it'll kind of be like a combo nature, maybe like the old school Gears of War slap and gun, that kind of thing. Either way, sounds pretty cool. They said as you collect and equip progressively better melee weapons, you'll also notice some impactful modifiers that synergize with shooting and spellcasting. For instance, a successful strike might reduce action skill cooldown or spell cooldown, or it can return ammo. They said, so if you're multiclassing and dialing in your hero points and your passives into spells and melee, maybe you're going to start choosing melee gear that returns spell cooldown to really optimize those relationships. So honestly, it does sound pretty interesting, the sort of trifecta there of guns, spells, and melee weapons. I'm honestly really excited. But for the time being, that is pretty much it. Of course, that is coming out on March the 25th, so in the grand scheme of things, not hugely far away. First quarter of next year, something to look forward to. Of course, once we do find out more information, once they reveal the other classes, I'll be sure to keep you guys up to date because this is one I'm looking forward to playing. Again, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below and keep it locked for plenty more. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you want to catch more from us, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our latest uploads. And if you want somewhere to hang out, play games, or chat all things from games to anime, food to fitness, consider joining the HyperX Gaming Discord.